Dad, here we are. We're going to kind of encompass 1976 and 77, but this was an interesting year starting out with this lovely 320 here that you guys can all see that doesn't have any gear. So, so tell us what happened this year. Couple cool things.
Well, 76, and then Charlie and I decided to take a trip to Reno, so we flew down to Reno and had some instrument flights going down there. On the way back, we had to do a lot of scud running, but I had to file IFR in the air about Pendleton to get into Hillsboro, and we flew back in and kind of knocked around a bit and landed. In Olympia, everything was nice, and we kind of pooped out. So I was laying in my lounge chair, kind of resting after a long, difficult flight from Reno. And Ruth de Reno comes over to the house, knocks on the door, and says, "Guess what my stupid husband did?" And there he is, his 320 laying on the ground, gear up, and he was talking to one of our neighbors as he's making approach apparently, and forgot that little button there they put down to put the gear down, and apparently didn't hear the horn either, and so he's standing there with a smile on his face as the proud of what he did. And then this next picture, that's Jeff when he was like 7 years old, and though that plane stayed on the ground for a while, and a guy came with a crane and lifted it up, put it on the gear, and off it went. So,
Did he have to rebuild the motors?
well, yeah, they have to, whenever you have a prop hitch like that, you got to tear the motors down to see if they're hurting or anything. I don't think he rebuilt them, and so.
Well, and I recall Andy saying that they noticed he and Chuck noticed rocks coming through the floorboards.
Oh, did they?
Inside the airplane, yeah.
No, I hadn't heard that part.
Well,
But
good.
yeah, yeah, it's a little hard on an airplane when you do it gear up. You can see the flaps are down in that earlier picture, and they took a beating there. See, so that got damaged too,
Yeah.
along with everything else. So anyway,
Oh yeah.
that's
yeah.
that one.
Yeah. Yeah. And what year was that 320? Like a 64?
Yeah,
Yeah.
64, I think, and
And that was shortly after he got rid of his 310. Then he had
Yeah.
picked that up.
yeah. So anyway, it's still a pretty exciting year. So then about that July, uh, Jeff and Charlie and I took off and headed for Greenville, Mississippi. Man, I got a lot of IFR time in and all that, and I dropped Jeff off in Greenville, and then I went up and did some business, flew out to Mattoon, and installed a manufacturing system in my plant up there, and then up to Michigan, and then back down to Mattoon and interviewed a guy, and then back to Greenville, and then Charlene and I hopped in the airplane and headed for the Bahamas, and we got to Florida and cleared customs, and then flew into Freeport and spent the night there. I wouldn't recommend Freeport. And then the next day we flew into Treasure Key in the Bahamas, which is on the far eastern side of the island. Nice little resort area, though the food was not too good. Charlene had some turtle soup, it was horrible. I got some pictures here that we'll look at in a minute, and had a raft in my boat, because they had to have a raft in your boat when you're going over the ocean, you know. So
Yeah, there's some pictures.
So we decided we were going to go out in a raft boat, and I had sent a guy, picked up the raft out of my boat, pumped it up, and went and bought 2 brooms to act as oars, and we roared out into the sea, and then came back, and we headed back home, and then loaded the raft back up, and some pictures we took on old 8mm film when we were in the Bahamas, and this is at Treasure Key, and I'm doing some snorkeling here, and the old 8mm camera,
No sound.
no sound, barely pictures, and so.
Well, what was the flight like? Like going through customs, down through Florida, getting into the Bahamas? If people want to go.
The weather was pretty decent, and we flew into Fort Lauderdale in Florida and cleared customs there, and then went into Freeport, cleared customs there, and spent the night there in a hotel there. It wasn't that great, but then the next morning fueled up and flew out to Treasure Key, which had about a 3,000-foot airport. The cab took us to our motel room, and during that, Charlene ordered some turtle soup, and there was raw turtles in it. It was horrible.
He'd
But
mentioned
we
that.
wanted to go out boating, so there was a raft in my airplane, so I had a guy go out and get it, bring it in, and I pumped it up.
And you actually gave the guy the key to the airplane. You didn't even go out there yourself.
No.
You trusted him to go out and get it.
Yep, and he did. And so we brought it in and pumped it up, and then went to a local store there and bought 2 brooms because I didn't have any oars, and left the cellophane on it, and we rowed out past all the yachts and stuff that were in the harbor in our high-end boat, and really had a good time. There were boats out there. This is a little nookie cranny that we stayed at on the raft, and it was
Some
snorkeling.
awesome video.
Huh?
No, just the quality. But hey, you get a picture.
Yeah,
There's your lovely wife.
The camera
Yeah.
works, and there's a bug crawling on the thing, but shortly we're going to have a departure out of Treasure Key and then take a pass by the beach. And just to get in a little bit ahead of time here, we flew back to Fort Lauderdale and cleared customs there again. I had a little sand I brought with me that made me leave it behind, and flew into Greenville, and then we were getting ready to depart out of Greenville, and I noticed I went to start the left engine and it wouldn't turn over. Rats. So I figured, well, I'll just go hand start it. So I had Charlene and it set the throttles all right and brakes and so forth. Went and fired up the left engine, and I figured now let that run a bit and it'll charge up the batteries and I can start the right engine. Well, I went to start the right engine, dead. Wouldn't start, nothing. So I went out and with the left engine running, and I hand started the right engine too. So I had to hand prop both engines, took off, we flew into Houston, and
Yeah, and I do remember that, by the way.
okay,
You hand propping them. I do. Yeah.
And
I remember Mom was not real excited about it because once you got the left engine started, and then you couldn't get the right engine started, and then you had to get back out of the airplane again.
Yeah.
She was really getting a little bit freaked out.
Yeah.
And, oh my God! And you're like, stand on the brakes, all the way on the brakes.
Yeah. Well, we did get them both going.
Yeah.
And the Houston, the FBO there sold me a new starter and rebuilt the other one, and it only cost me $160. Those days are long gone. And
So it actually, both of them failed simultaneously.
yeah, they did, but one of them was rebuildable, and the other one had to be replaced.
Oh, gotcha.
Starters. This is the departure out of Treasure Key, and you can see it's a little bit of cloudy, but it was pretty good weather for there. You know, you could fly 2,000 feet and be under the weather. It was pretty nice. And
What was your flight time there back to the mainland then?
it was about an hour and a half, about 2 hours.
Yeah.
And because it's about 180 nautical miles from the coast of Florida, and to Fort Lauderdale there, and but no big deal. 2 engines and a raft on board. What more could you worry about? And here we are going over the Treasure Key area.
Yeah, so we had a little trip to San Jose. The significant thing there was some pretty phenomenal headwinds.
Yeah, we flew down to San Jose. I'm not sure where there. Spent a couple of days. It was instant departure into Eugene, and then out of Eugene and into San Jose, and then we spent a couple of days there playing around, and then on the way back and going in, we thought we could make it all the way in one fuel trip, but we were experiencing about 100 knot headwinds, so I was only making like about 40 knots or 50 knots over the ground, and so we had to stop in Medford on the way, and had to make an approach into Medford with that nasty weather, and gassed up again and made it all the way home. This is the last picture in the Bahamas, and I ended up making an instant approach back into Hillsborough and then on into Crest. So I mean into Olinger, and so it was sort of a bumpy trip, but going over the mountains in the Medford area and up in that area, you can get a lot of turbulence, and I've always had a lot of instrument experience there, and and you can get ice too because of the way the wind goes up and down. Though, I had a friend who picked up ice in his barren, and they ended up hitting a duck at 8,000 feet.
You're kidding.
Yeah, it hit it. Actually, it was a goose, and it hit it right on the nose of his barren, and it drove it into the heating system, and all the feathers and crap came out of his heating system. So that's pretty funny. So that part of the country can get pretty nasty on weather-wise on it. So.
Yeah, the mountainous west.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, and that about does it for this. Is 76 and 77.
Yeah, and there was a lot of short trips. We went to the Sun River and Roach Harbor and all that too, and those are fun and lots of flying done, and that old 310 just kept running. So this picture here is probably up at Abbotsford or someplace like that.
Yeah, I think we've shown that a little bit too. That's cool. Yeah, we don't know where this was. We showed that earlier. That somewhere got a Rams shirt on and looking at airplanes. As you can see, a Centurion in the background there. And those were the days where you'd land at random airports and there'd be brand new airplanes for sale all over the place.
Yeah.
But you don't see that so much anymore. But all right, gang. Until next time, we'll catch you later.
Yep. Bye now.